The emancipation of women is only something invented by the Jewish intellect, and its content is permeated by the same spirit.
The woman does not need to emancipate herself from the true and most important moments of German life.
This shocking phrase was pronounced by Adolf Hitler shortly after having seized power in Germany. With these words, the Nazi leader left little doubt about what the role of women in the Third Reich should be. The National Socialist movement came to completely revolutionize German society. After 1933, nothing would be the same as before. A new era was beginning in Germany, and it would be marked by brutality, sadism, and complete lack of mercy. The female population was no stranger to this reality. Today, in this new episode of Military History, we will tell you how women lived in Nazi Germany. Let's get started. Before we delve into our subject, we want to invite you to discover our new channel, Military Might. Here we'll carry out in-depth analyses of the most powerful, modern, and surprising weapons of war in the world. So, if you like military weaponry, you must check out Military Might. You'll find the link to the channel in the description and in the first comment. Let's go on. In the years preceding Hitler's rise to power, German women had experienced an improvement in their situation. Since 1919, their political rights were extended. They were granted the right to vote and hold public office in the government. On the other hand, one of the consequences of the First World War was the lack of men. Hundreds of thousands had died on the battlefront or been disabled, either from mutilation or psychological trauma. The shortage of male workers in post-war Germany was resolved by employing women. In this way, a good part of the female population began to occupy prominent positions in factories and offices, something unthinkable until then. In those days, the Weimar Republic was experiencing an incipient female emancipation. Everyone was aware that gender roles were changing and that the place of women was not only taking care of the house and children, but that they could aspire to much more. However, there were those who viewed these developments in a bad light, believing that it was all part of a plot to undermine Germany, and calling for these advances to be reversed. The National Socialist Party was among the detractors of women's emancipation. One of their mottos was Kinder, Kusch, Kirche, an old expression that means children, church, kitchen. The Nazis never made any secret of their views on what the role of women should be, and once Hitler came to power, he immediately took it upon himself to make these ideals a reality. In 1933, he prohibited the female population from participating in the leadership of the party or its administration, which in practice was equivalent to expelling them from politics forever. The Führer justified his decision as follows: "The fact that we have removed women from public life is due solely to our desire to restore their essential dignity. It is not that we do not respect women, but that we respect them too much enough to keep them in touch with the miseries of parliamentary democracy." On the other hand, school regulations were modified to discourage young students from studying for a university degree. Although it may seem surprising, many women were in favor of these measures, and supported a return to traditional gender roles. In the Third Reich, the ideal woman was one who stayed in her house, obeyed her husband, and lived to raise her children. The Nazis promoted motherhood as an essential trait of the feminine, claiming that the birth rate in Germany was low and that more children were needed. Yet despite all this preaching, there were several Nazi women who inadvertently defied these precepts. An exemplary case was that of Leni Riefenstahl, who, far from living for domestic chores, came to be in charge of shooting the official films of the dictatorship. The Nazis created their own women's associations, with the aim of indoctrinating their members from their earliest childhood and turning them into Hitler fanatics. In this sense, the most important organization was the League of German Girls, thought of as the female branch of the Hitler Youth. In 1936, membership in it became compulsory for all girls between the ages of 10 and 18. There were a series of requirements to belong to the League, such as being of German origin and not having a Jewish background. The members carried out recreational activities such as theater, singing, community tasks, and crafts. They were allowed to go camping without the presence of their parents. They made camps, games, and hikes in the mountains. This association was strongly criticized by the most conservative sectors of Nazism, who nicknamed it the League of German Mattresses, suggesting that its members were sexually promiscuous. In fact, Heinrich Himmler, the leader of the SS, was one of his strongest opponents, once saying the following: "When I see these girls marching around with their backpacks singing, it's enough to make me sick." Himmler promoted the creation of bridal schools, academies where all those who wanted to marry an SS officer had to attend. In these establishments, women had to take a mandatory 6-week course in which they were taught how to properly run a home. They were taught to iron, clean, sew, take care of children and cook, so that they would be the ideal wife according to Nazism. On the other hand, they were told that they were the pillar of the German race, the ones in charge of maintaining blood purity, and they were given classes in genetics and eugenics. At the end of the course, they received a diploma certifying their knowledge and authorizing them to marry. With the outbreak of World War II, the female prototype of Nazism underwent several modifications. The ideal woman was no longer simply the one who took care of the housework, but the one who, from her place, helped with the war effort. The League of German Girls ran charity drives and collected money donations to send to soldiers fighting on the front lines. Musical choirs were also formed to cheer up the wounded in military hospitals. The young adults were recruited as auxiliaries to the armed forces, serving as anti-aircraft system assistants, searchlight operators, and communications personnel, as well as nurses. Although they were not classified as soldiers, they were subject to the code of military discipline, and even had to take an oath of allegiance to Hitler and the commander-in-chief of the Wehrmacht. On the other hand, just as in the days of the First World War, the German government once again found itself with the same problem. Hundreds of thousands of men perished fighting the Allies, or were disabled from wounds received, so that German industries had no workers. The leaders of the Third Reich had spent years saying that the natural place for women was the home, but now they had to encourage the opposite, that is, that they be employed in factories and offices to meet the demand for labor. Otherwise, the German army could be left undersupplied and without provisions. It is estimated that in 1945, in the last phase of the war, 85% of administrative, laboratory and accounting positions were held by women. In a certain sense, as we see, it can be said that Hitler's initial vision for the female population failed, since the needs of the war ended up imposing themselves. We have reached the end of the video, and we want to ask you, why do you think so many women supported Nazism? Leave us your answer in the comment box below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn about many more military events that left their mark on history.